How's it going, everyone? My name is Adrian Campos, and this is my creative video for K40W. And I'll be talking about how K-pop, in a lot of ways, can really be seen as a musical takeover. So, for me personally, I never really got interested or involved in the K-pop scene until about 2017, once they really started to get their push here in the United States. So, I know that for a lot of my friends at that time, they were getting really invested in groups like BTS, in Blackpink, and so many more, and a lot of the different creative aspects that are related to it. So as they kept learning, they would just go ahead and share that with our entire friend group. So we're able to learn about things like Korean beauty standards, the messages that are explicitly or implicitly behind the music, things like what a bias is, and so much more. And I think since that time, we've all really been able to see how K-pop has grown into this mass phenomena, which people truly enjoy. And I think for me personally, it's been really interesting to look at some of the specific ways that K-pop has really attached itself to certain aspects of my life that I would have never thought it would have been able to do before. And I think one of those things for me is in terms of video games. So there are video games made which are explicitly dedicated towards the support and the exposure of K-pop groups and their music. I think two of the best examples of this are Superstar BTS and Rhythm Hive. They're both rhythm type video games, just like the clip that's playing at the top of the screen, where you're tapping along to notes as music's playing in the background. Superstar BTS was strictly dedicated towards music put out by BTS, whereas Rhythm Hive is a collaboration with Big Hit Records as a whole. So it plays music from BTS, TXT, and Hyphen, and so much more. And it's just a really great way for diehard fans to enjoy themselves more, but also open the eyes of any newcomers who want to get into the scene but don't necessarily know how to. And I think another great example of the intermixture between video games and K-pop would have to be KDA. So KDA is a virtual K-pop group that was developed by the minds behind the game League of Legends. Each of the four girls are characters within the game itself, and they've been lent their voices by a lot of high-profile artists in America, but also around the world also. So singers like Madison Beer, Kim Petras, Lexi Liu, and then two singers from G Idol, Soyeon and Miyeon. I'm probably saying their names wrong. I'm so sorry. And then with their first EP just releasing right now in November of 2020, they've been able to use a lot of their songs towards the promotion of League of Legends content as well as for games like Valorant. But at the same time, it also works to influence people to go and listen back to these songs to get the full message of what it is or hear the full audio um, as it was made. So moving on from the video game aspect, I know that for myself, I mentioned this before in class that I used to work at the Sheraton in Westwood. And the majority of the time, we would play K-pop during store hours. And if you look closely at the picture, we have televisions above where we make the drinks that are just playing K-pop music videos the entire time. And that was done as a way, these are the words of my owner, these were done as a way to attract older Asian patrons to come by and grab a drink in a place that felt comfortable to them, but also interest like students from UCLA who are interested in K-pop to just come and hang out and like obviously buy food, but be able to enjoy themselves at the same time. And then I know that a lot of K-pop groups have taken advantage of using like television shows to expose themselves more to even wider audiences. So by having groups like BTS perform at the Grammys, it's great for them because it's even more exposure for them and their music for anyone who hasn't listened to them. And it's also great for the Grammys because it's just higher ratings throughout the entire show. But then on the other end of the spectrum, with things that are more carefree in a sense. You have groups like Monsta X making cameos in a show like We Bare Bears, which is more advertised towards children. And it just allows these kids to think to themselves, like, well, who's that group? I want to learn more about them. So then they'll go and they'll try and discover their music for themselves. Um, and I think within most recent years, we've seen the development and the advertisement of K-pop within streaming services as a whole. I remember for a really long time, you couldn't find like a K-pop section under Apple Music or Spotify. But within recent years, even though it's towards the bottom of the list, there's that aspect to it now available. And as you can see in the other clip, I'm just scrolling through all the playlists that are available. So you can go through all the hits from the 90s to the present day, but also explore a lot of the different genres other than pop itself that Korean artists provide to their audiences. So I think if I think to myself, like, who are the biggest collaborations with the mainstream artists that K-pop artists have done, there's Dua Lipa and Blackpink, who released Kiss and Make Up back in 2017. That went on to be a really great hit, even though it was released as a deluxe track for Dua Lipa's debut album. You have BTS and Halsey, who released Boy With Love in 2019, and that went on to be a Billboard top 10 hit and just uber successful in so many ways. And then you have smaller artists in terms of American music as well as K-pop, like Ava Max and NCT 127, where they're able to support themselves and work their ways up the ladder in terms of the music industry, even though they might be smaller right now. It's just more exposure for them all around. And then I think for myself, of course, along with everything else I've just talked about, K-pop has really impacted my life because I've been able to find this entire new genre of music that I would have never known about before and really come to love it. And I think as I've grown to listen to more music, I just want to share it with other people. So then I use the songs that I find for my radio show for UCLA Radio, which is the picture that I have there. So I include K-pop a lot in my set list whenever I air my show. And then as I play more of it, it just urges me to like go out and discover even more artists to share. So it's like this positive feedback loop where as I discover more, I want to share it more, but then I want to discover more right after it. So that's all I have to say. Before I head off, I just want to say thank you for an amazing quarter, Professor. This was honestly one of the most fun classes I've ever taken here at UCLA. And I really hope I get to meet you soon in person and maybe get to take another one of your classes in the near future. So I hope you have a great spring break and I'll see you all later. Thank you.